So today I'm sitting down with Dan McGowan, who is currently serving as the Chief Operating Officer for Cornerstone Restaurant Group. He is an industry leader with some extensive background in the space, including advising on notable brands such as Big Bowl, as well as creating retail product lines and expanding concepts across platforms and growing profits. Dan currently oversees the entire group portfolio, including Belly Concepts, multiple Michael Jordan concepts around the country, the table at Crate in collaboration with Crate and Barrel, and the upcoming Cornerstone international expansion into South Korea. So today, Dan and I are going to be diving into the food service industry a little bit more, and specifically with the restaurant industry and the pain points and challenges they might face with managing fresh food. So Dan, first and foremost, thanks so much for your time and sharing your insights with me today, but let's just jump right in. So what do you see are some of the bigger challenges in this industry, in the restaurants, specifically with how fresh food is managed and coming into your restaurants across the space, all the way from production to the DCs, and how is everything managed along the way?
I think there's several challenges. I think the first is, right, you want to make sure this is not the crux of your question, but you want to make sure you select the right partners to do business with, right? Because there's at a back door of any restaurant on any given day, you could have hundreds of boxes, right, coming in the door. And it would be great if you could expect every single one. But the reality is, with time constraints and staffing constraints, it's just not feasible. Maybe the chicken or the fish or whatever is going to get inspected, but not every piece of produce, not. Sure. So one, you want to make sure you're working with a good broadliner, a good distributor that you trust. But the second piece, which I kind of just talked about, is not just the person, but then how can you ensure that what's coming in your back door is of the quality that you want, right? Because you want to make sure that everything that's coming in your back door, you feel great about, so that the shelf life and the next stages of it work, right? So if it already comes in the back door and it's, you think you got a 5-day shelf life, but it's really only at 3 because it hasn't been managed properly to your back door, that's going to screw up your whole chain of events from there on.
So certainly a lot of challenges there and a lot to really kind of unfold. So let's start from the top. How do you go about picking and partnering with a distributor? And are you confident in the products that you receive from them and serve at your restaurants? Being there are so many different key players in the space, how do you specifically go about selecting who is the right partner for you in your restaurants to receive fresh meats from, fresh produce? And what does that look like and mean to you in the restaurant space?
There's US Foods, there's Sysco, there's Gordon Food Service, and then there's other broadliners that are a little more specific to regions in the States. But you hope, right, that the Sysco's or Gordon or US Foods, that those companies are big and have a reputation for a reason. So you start with that. But a lot of those companies, what I find historically over the 30 some odd years I've been doing this, is also they're very relationship. Even though US Foods or Sysco or Gordon are huge companies, I can still to this day remember the name of my salesman in Minneapolis with Sysco and how great he was and how impactful. And that relationship had me working with Sysco for years and years and years because of not so much Sysco, but the gentleman Bill that I worked with. And the same thing can be said for other purveyors that I've had over the years. So you want to find a broadliner or a partner that you feel good about. Supreme Foods in Chicago, Supreme Seafood there's a gentleman, Tim, that I've worked with for years, that we become very close, and you just trust them, and you know that they're going to take care of you and look out for your business. So sure. It starts with, you would hope that the bigger companies are big because they have the right reputation and the systems in place. but then it's also the relationship level of the individual that works with that group as well.
Absolutely. I mean, I think trust is a huge aspect in any part of life, but even more so when it comes to making business decisions. So let's take it one step further now. You've decided to work with your distributors. You have relationships. Obviously, like you just mentioned, it comes down to a personal level as well. So what does it mean to you to potentially have a solution like Evidence that would add an additional layer of trust and understanding with the distributors you partner with, that they're now putting a sensor on your product on the unit level, all the way from the producer into your restaurants, and taking it one step further to say, we're now promising to ensure you as our customer that the food we are delivering and putting through the entire supply chain process has been monitored and managed correctly, up until we deliver it at your facility. So tell me a little bit about what that would mean to you as a customer and kind of the value it adds in connection to the trust and understanding, and kind of how you would go about selecting the partners and distributors you choose to work with.
Totally. I mean, I think it's the old, right? Trust but verify, right? So you have a relationship and you assume the relationship's good. And 95% of the time, they want to take care of you because they want the relationship to continue. Whether it's a broadliner, whether it's your seafood company, your produce company, they don't want any harm, or they don't want things to go wrong. So, but if they add a product like an Evidence to what's happening, that's another level of assurance for me at the store or at the restaurant level that says, okay, they're really trying to put their money where their mouth is, to say, look, we believe in our system. We believe in our training, and our trucks are refrigerated, and we take first in, first out seriously, and cross-contamination, all that. But here's another level that we've added in the process to assure you, the end user, the restaurant, that what you're getting has stayed in a good zone from us to you. And by the way, you get the benefit of, now when it's in your door, you got that sticker stays with it, which helps you manage the product over the next 2, 3, 5 days, or however long it stays within your cycle. But that is a benefit, a built-in benefit, that I think is, it's a real plus. Again, going back to the education level, a lot of us that have been doing this a lot, all that stuff, first in, first out, and rotation, all that stuff is like simple, but those are years of learning and knowing. But if you can teach a new person, hey, for starters, why don't you just make sure the sticker's in the green zone? And if it's not in the green zone, then what zone it is, that to alert you to, hey, maybe you should be paying more attention to that product. And so there's things that are built in that I think can help that and build that. And so it's an education piece as well.
Absolutely. So, okay, great. So trust, a potential education opportunity for your employees. Where else would you see, as a customer yourself, working with a US Foods or a Cisco or a Gordon Foods, where do you see additional value from a solution like Evidence being implemented, to add to the layer of knowing your fresh products have not been temperature abused throughout in any process, anytime in transit? And when they arrive to your restaurant, they're going to withhold to their shelf life or even beyond, because of the additional layer with the sensor, and monitoring the temperature from the producer into you at the restaurant.
And I think one of the big ones is obviously freshness, and then waste, right? So clearly everybody wants the freshest product. So if you can keep your ordering tighter, because now this is showing you where your yield is and when the best time to use the product, and take it and make sure it's at its freshest thing. That's one, which everybody wants to serve the most fresh and high quality product. But two, it also can help you eliminate waste and know, like, okay, well, hey, last time I ordered 5 cases and I was two of the cases I couldn't even use because they were on the shelf way too long. So I know, okay, well, I can tighten that up. I can maybe only go with 3 cases now, or on the other spectrum, maybe you just always had a rule of thumb, like anything on the shelf more than 3 days goes in the garbage. Well, maybe it didn't need to go in the garbage and you were throwing stuff away that you didn't need to throw away. So I think it can help your ordering and your waste on both sides, which can bring down obviously your overall cost. So I think your freshness quotient can go up, your cost and your ordering can go down. And also it's not just waste, but ordering takes a tremendous amount of time. Getting, whether it's the clipboard or the ordering board, going through, inventorying everything, filling out the form. And if you can manage and do less ordering because you're using your product to the fullest ability, that's also going to save time and energy and labor as well. So all of those things start to factor into the product.
So it sounds like there are some pretty key and significant takeaways here that would really be key and real drivers to you as a customer in the restaurant industry, with that additional and added layer of ensuring the products that you're receiving are fresh and of the highest quality, which is obviously fantastic. So it kind of brings me into my last question and area I wanted to discuss with you is pricing. So you mentioned earlier, this is a penny business. So from your perspective and kind of building on what we talked about a little bit today around the value and where you would see, this impacting your business and your bottom line in the restaurant, what do you think is a realistic price, or what is something you would be willing to pay for a solution like Evidence? I know it's a loaded question, but would love to get your take on kind of where you see this fitting into the larger picture of, the pricing with the value and how it would impact the overall industry and business.
I don't know enough about everything that goes into your guys' back end, but what I can tell you is that, if it was, I don't know, I don't know if it's 10 to 20 more cents a case because of the sticker, probably something that I'm like, well, that's totally worth it. If it's $2 more a case, then I think it's something that people are gonna, again, we're a pennies business, but if somebody says, hey, for an extra 10 cents a case, you're going to have a much better grasp of where this product was, when it came in, what's it lasting. I think 10, 20, whatever the number is, everybody's got to decide for themselves, but
Sure.
A reasonable number, I think, makes sense. And I also think that, I think if it's a shared expense between the broadliner and the end user, then I think that maybe it's not as painful and they both are benefiting from it.
Great. Yeah, I think it certainly becomes more cost effective. Of course, if the cost is split between the DC and the end customer. So, well, great. I think we covered most of the questions that I wanted to address with you today. So are there any other topics we didn't get to cover or anything you wanted to dive into a little bit deeper during our time?
No, I mean, I think that it's a great product. I think, again, coming from doing this a long time, it started with just, right, a day dot and then a labeled day dot and then a use first. And then, so it's great to see the industry continue to progress and take this technology and how do we use technology to do what we do best, right? So I want my managers spending more time with their staff and the customer, and I want my chefs and cooks spending more time creating great food. So anything that takes some of their time away from managing boxes or checking in everything, that's time that can be better spent somewhere else, right? So all these things help. It's not going to give me 20 more hours a week, but if cumulatively I get a couple hours more a week because we can use this system to make us more efficient, well, that can be reinvested into something else.
Okay, great. Well, we certainly think it's a great product and we're excited about it. And we hope we can continue to educate the market and get everybody else in the industry excited about it as well. And as you know, our mission is to redefine fresh. So we're certainly well underway to do that. And hopefully with some further education, we can continue to improve how fresh food is monitored throughout the entire supply chain.